Hey, this is Misery Loves Company, a weekly social reading series hosted by miserytourism.com. Every Friday, we welcome outsider and transgressive writers to come and share their work. And it's Friday, so let's get rolling here. We don't have a huge docket tonight, so once again, if anyone would like to read at the end during the open mic, at any point during the show, just put something in the chat, and Rudy or I will add you to the list. So anyway,
Yep.
speaking of Rudy, you were up first tonight, and I understand you have some definitely tasteful topical poetry for us.
Yeah, it's at least one of those things.
Boy, I wonder which one.
Uh, Fuck yeah. Well, let me just check the document here because I just finished one of these poems. But okay, yep, it's in there. I'm reading off my phone, so cool. Yep. So yeah, these are some poems I wrote today. Like to hear it? Here it goes. First one is called Covenant. In Halo, Master Chief mostly domes fucking aliens, taking names, picking up guns, doing doming activities. Gun control is 6 axis, 6 degrees of separation from some kid who sat 6 chairs down from a girl who was 6, who got scolded for talking about the flood while the teacher was talking about the other flood, while adrenaline was flooding Audrey's body, while bright white lights were blinking out warning, raising the threat level, raising chemical alarms too. Carlin's routine: sleep, but lower the flags, half staff for a day. While Audrey was on the loneliest road taking the high ground, and the media was in Scotland. When it pours, it hails. Toggle umbrellas, or better yet, walk through it. The Temptation said, "Everybody knows a man ain't supposed to cry. I just wish it would rain for 24 hours, and especially at prime time." Hey, yo, if I can get colored for a minute, that motherfucker put more rounds in Covenant than the UNSC Marine Corps. Combat evolved. I have set my rainbow in the clouds. This next one's called History of Noise. A tender kiss between two mustard gas victims at a field hospital near Flanders is interrupted by a time traveler blaring Papa Roach. I'm losing my sight, losing my mind. Wish somebody would tell me I'm fine. This next one is called Clarissa Explains the Nashville Covenant School Shooting. Inside her pastel bedroom, Clarissa is drawing inside her notebook, inside her 3-ring binder, inside her trapper keeper, inside the lines a map of some faraway elementary school. That's when the audience shows up. She turns to them, Kool-Aid Manning through the fourth wall, and says, Jesus Christ is actually Lord. Sam shows up. Cue ladder entrance jingle. But this time he's brought friends, an endless line of fifth graders ascends, descends on our young hostess's suburban sanctum. Some are bloody, some are filled with bullets. Why me? Clarissa says to us before comforting the kids, wrapping them in blankets and dorky Christmas sweaters that she wasn't going to wear anyway. The room is filled and filling still. She dresses their wounds, feeds them, clothes them in eccentric 90s wardrobe of hot pinks and reds, whole lot of red. When some of the injured die, she and Sam bury them at the foot of the ladder. How am I going to explain all this to Mom? The graves get so numerous that they can be seen from space, certainly by news choppers. So she and Sam start to dig them up and store bodies in the basement, makeshift catacombs that gradually become haunted. Ferguson is knocking on her bedroom door. Nothing, twerp. He peeks in and is pulled in, conscripted as an orderly of mercy. He, Clarissa, and Sam are aged before their time in an act against our voyeurism. Us, you, me, the audience. Elvis the alligator makes like the king and shoots the TV, sending shrapnel into our faces. And if you or us thought that they were going to get some clarity, some reason from a totally reasonless but highly thought out situation like a school shooting, I'll just have to quote the theme song when I say, Na 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 na. All right, all right. Na 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 na. Way cool. Someone, maybe one of the yous hearing me read this, is thinking that's a crass little poem to write 72 hours after the event that says a lot of nothing about it. So I pull the lever, which turns on the laser, which heats up the rope, which breaks, opening the trapdoor, which spills sticky green gack all over you, you critic, you Poindexter. Get fucking slimed. So this next one is called Infrared. She was executed by Puritans for making occult gestures when it was really their posturing that was weaponized. Say her name. She was at some party where joyful play briefly became joyful fright, became teasing, became body horror as shameful chunks were blown. Say her name. She bathed in the blood of about 600 young women and maybe drank some. Say her name. She cut down blacks as they ran, trailing that North Star. Say her name. She sees this text right ways and right into my fist wrong ways as I catch myself and fail to catch myself on the wrong day, wrong time. Sometimes vampire. Say her name. Her shards taste blood. Ultima Online before neon faggotry. Say her name. She has never seen me raise the camera to snap selfies. She is wisely considering moving her portal elsewhere. She's thinking of not answering when I. This one is called I Would Like to Fuck Haley Williams after explaining to her why I have the only playlist on YouTube to feature Paramore and a white supremacist band called Max Resist. But it should really be called I regularly masturbate to Haley Williams, or I actually like the band Paramore's music because I'm a pop punk toilet droid. Period. This next one this is the last one. It's called Trans Day of Invisibility to Undead. Just a full day of Elliot Page walking east on Ventura Boulevard for some reason, slapping cigarettes out of any and every goth kid's mouth while they ironically quote Zero, or Laura Jane Grace spell jamming her way to Hogwarts and striking Moaning Myrtle with a silvered Stratocaster because the ghost now has a blind spot bigger than Rowling's publicist, or original character Randy Stair in the cartoon dimension pulling giant mallet after giant mallet out of a dress that has pockets and smashing skeletons to meal before drawing a relaxing hot bath, then an unrelaxing portal back to Earth on the wall in magic marker, and stepping through to do a Weiss supermarket new game plus, this time with unlimited ammo and all the stare discourse retards can eat bullets because they're dead too, because social media is a ghost zone like in Danny Phantom that mostly creates hierarchies, powers, and accidents. And at the end of the day, when OC Randy goes back home to wash her hands of the whole thing, she can't see the hands because OC Randy is also dead. That's it.
Man, I remember, you probably remember too, when when Bill Maher Bill Maher's show was canceled because he made some really fairly innocuous comments about 9/11 in the not too distant, in like a month after 9/11, right?
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah.
For some reason, while you were reading this, I remembered. Oh, but man, these are fucking fantastic. These are fucking insane. My favorite one, though, far and away, is the Clarissa Explains one. Even though I have never in my life seen that show, I know exactly I know enough to get what's going on here, and I really appreciate it because I love the way that because school shootings are a phenomenon of our generation,
Yeah.
and taking this like cultural artifact from like our preteen era, from like the era before school shootings, right? Like just before, just on the cusp of school shootings, right? Taking this kind of like Nickelodeon aesthetic and then having like the school shootings arrive in that world, like, yeah, it's wonderfully surreal and it's wonderfully like sick and subversive, but it also really gets at like the growing disillusionment of our lives, right? Like of like first like the youthful innocence of being some kid watching Nickelodeon and having it be interrupted by fucking Jonesboro or something. And then you
Right.
change the channel and it's interrupted by Columbine. And then having your whole life be this kind of endless parade of this very particular kind of tragedy. And the way that you insert that into the world of the show and have it become this thing where like it never completely overwhelms the absurd, at least until close to the end. The like the like humor of the show, the very like the structure of the show, the like winking ironic asides and the oh why me stuff, I love how that is like instead of just being overwhelmed, it's like worn down and it's eroded through like constant contact with like the fucking horror of school shootings. And just I don't know, it's just like a brilliant juxtaposition. But all of these are good, and as is true of all of your work, they're really rich with references. The Randy Stair one is really fucking good too. And of course, like really tiling out. It's funny that Stair never got the kind of attention that this shooter is getting, in spite of the fact that Stair was kind of a trans school shooter before, well, a trans spree shooter, I should say, long before this. Anyway, that aside, like this all, I don't know, as usual. Um, whether it's too soon or not, it's certainly effective.
Well, thanks. And I just wanted to say that Clarissa poem I actually got inspiration for that. It pretty much wrote itself because Melissa Joan Hart, who is the person who plays Clarissa, actually was near the site of the shooting. And
Really?
she actually, the kids were coming out of the woods, and like she stopped her car and started helping them like fucking get away from the
Wow,
scene, pretty
holy
much.
shit.
So that's what I mean. That's what actually happened like the other
Wow,
day, I
that's
guess.
fucking nuts. I had no idea. I had no idea.
Yeah, no, that's where I got the idea from for that one. So I mean, that's yeah, it was ripped from the headlines.
Oh. But I mean, you ended up crafting it into something that's like so thematically appropriate, you know? Like
Oh,
that it's so fitting. At least like for our generation, right? I think that really has been the experience. You're watching Nickelodeon one day, and then the next day it's nothing but a school shooting a week until you're 40.
yeah, pretty
um,
much.
anyway, thank you, man.
Thanks.
Stuff. And Jeff is up next.
All right. Uh, did you drop the link, William? Yeah,
I think so.
I think so.
Hopefully I did. Hopefully it's not the Zoom link again.
Thank you. I think I might have fucked up and read one of these here before, but I can't remember. So uh, this first one's called The Pagans Have a Point. The pagans have a point about reincarnation. When you laugh, it may be Herbert's laugh or his father's, same register, similar chuckle. Not going to talk about 100 million sperm and the mucus too much. All those poppers and gay sex, moaning in grandpa's tone. No need to kill them. A strict Saturday night curfew could solve it all. Should solve it. Genres don't die that way. Genes don't die that way. But Saturday is the night they do all the Weimar things. That is the night they dress up like Marilyn Monroe and moan, just as Herbert moaned in World War II. Andy Warhol smelled awful. Sick a dog on Truman Capote. Cut off your balls, be it raw or with the chemicals. Do as your therapist told you. Piles of penises on a train ride to Dachau. You blacked out the past, stole the present, killed the future, you World War II hero. All right. This one's called Don't Fuck with the Arab. I was sitting in a bar enjoying a Padron, drinking an old fashioned. A tribe of loud guys started with me, crowding my seat and talking shit. I just wanted to listen to Sinatra sing, but they kept pushing. Testosterone's a bitch. It got the best of these kids, all over some rotten pussy that certainly pleasured half the city. I had to stop them from contracting unnecessary STDs. They called me a faggot in front of my favorite bartender, a brown haired girl, daughter of an old associate. They insulted me. Her eyes looked down. I had to do what I had to do, put on my coat and rested my smoke. Went out to my car. What the fuck? It was really cold. Got out the Glock. Went back in to see what was up. I said, on your knees and blow me. They looked at each other like, wow, he grew some balls. I did. Was 100% ready to scalp these motherfucking Indians. Put their testicles in a vice. Send their mothers their ears in the mail, first class, and a religious Christmas card. Thank God they decided they did not need to die tonight. The college must be working. Say sorry, buy me a drink, be polite. That's life, and another old fashioned. Happy I don't have to get up again. All right, I got one more. Freedom, she said to me. They forced me to join the environmental club. That's where I met you and listened to your junk, writing letters to prisoners in the pen, ugly men who'd lied and murdered to be in there. I'd taught you to drive in my father's car. I said hi to your mom, sat in your room in the dark, singing along to Madonna on your radio. You had a black and purple hair that covered your face. And every once in a while, I could see you smile at stupid things that I once said. You loved Jane's Addiction and Bob Dylan. I told you my new favorite band, Nirvana, and some other indie rock stuff. I drove you around to visit your weird friends, sat in their living rooms when you cut their hair, and we ate pizza with them that I bought, thinking it was for all of us. It was all for us. We went to Timmy's house, listened to Prince. His old man had dug an 8-foot ditch in the front yard for apparently no reason. Timmy joked with me that it was to bury the kids in. Then one day I got the gump to ask you out for coffee and stuff. We sat in that old train car diner alone, listening to the jukebox, playing loud country music and stuff. I thought it was now or never to make my move, and you knew too. That's why you went to the kitchen before we left, saying, Ma, I'll be home before 10, if not sooner. Over apple pie, I spilled my guts, emptied out my garbage bag full of poetry and stuff. It was then I said, please, I love you. I'd wanted to say that forever. There were many men whose babies you dodged, not settling for any of that sentimental stuff, as men and babies were nothing you wanted to touch. After all, and even though that once before I unbuttoned your sweater, one pearl button at a time, looked at your white chest that had never seen the sun, I rubbed my face between your breasts and stuff. But I knew then, the look upon your face, I hoped for love, but there was anger instead, that I had not been able enough to be anything other than many men. I dumped my garbage bag of poetry, confessing my love and obsessions, not the love you were looking for. And I begged you, please do not get mad. You threw coffee in my face and went out the door, kicking the windows of my daddy's car. I yelled, stop, and you pulled out the kitchen knife that you'd been hiding, pointed it at my face, yelling, "Freedom, freedom." I felt then the presence of God, hoping you'd stab my chest and relieve me. Freedom again, while you smashed the doors and spit on the ground, stomped on the hood and the highway. Your combat boots clomped out of the lot. You were running. A truck driver held me back at the door. He said, "Son, don't you dare leave this diner." I had no choice but to let you go. Lest get my ass kicked by who knows who. No Smashing Pumpkins song could turn it around. No, sir, not tonight. I went back to school on that Monday in a fog of rejection around me. The principal called to tell me that you dropped out of school, carrying a baby before graduation. You knew it was not mine, but no Dylan song could clean up the stuff we were playing in. All right.
Holy shit, Jeff.
Right.
Holy shit. These are fantastic. That last poem is a fucking killer. That last poem was fucking phenomenal because it subverts every fucking expectation that you would have for a poem like that. And it does it slowly and subtly and with real attention to detail, right? And I love like the way you pull us into this like fog of teenage nostalgia. I think poison nostalgia is already kind of a theme for tonight, but you pull us in and you think, oh, well, this is going to be this kind of either like a tender poem about teenage love or maybe a tender poem about teenage heartbreak. And it's the latter kind of, but the way it goes completely batshit at the end, the way that like the curtain is pulled aside and you see not just like that these are like two troubled kids in the movie sense, right? Like that, like it's out of some like reform school movie or something. But this girl is really fucked, and you see the way the like wild violence of those last few stanzas is so shocking and subversive and unexpected, and yet feels like completely psychologically true and completely annihilates all the fucking cute romantic notions we have about like troubled kids and love or whatever. And the ending is just fucking devastating. So yeah, that rocked, Jeff.
Thanks, man. I'm still alive. That was a Pearl Jam song. So
I'm still alive. I'm still. That was great, man. That was awesome. The last line of the first one, the penises on the train. Uh, that was fucking amazing. Jesus fucking A. Love all
thanks,
of those stuff.
thanks.
All right. Yeah, thank you, Jeff. Gianluca's up next. Oh, let me see it. There we go.
Hello, everybody. So,
Hey man, how's it going?
it's going all right, I suppose. I mean, life is very odd. I've not written anything in a while. I've not been able to very much, but I'm very silly like that. But I think I don't know. I was going to maybe read the rest of that play, but honestly, I feel it's a little too woke, a little too didactic. Hold on a sec. So I don't know. But I do have something I'd maybe like to read. Yes,
I see.
Titanium. I'd like to
Oh, okay. Titanium's the one you're going to read. Rudy had put two documents in the list
Yeah.
here. I think
Yeah, Transition of the
Titanium.
Holy Order is the play, remember? I think you
Gotcha.
quite liked Act One.
Yeah, yeah. So Titanium is the one that I think I actually did link then. So I think we should be good.
Yeah, good. Okay. All right, here goes. This is not written by me. This is written by a machine that has read a fair amount of my work. Okay. And you, for one, do seem willing to go along with some of the crap that hoards virtue, the same sense of progression, the need to fling a limb for a cause as great as its recipient, that all of it is, that nothing concrete ever will be. Is that the case for all of our deeds? for the fattening and the futile. We are currently encircling a pre-made reality, the world we've created, while the individual humans, primarily the highly developed and highly paid anarcho-primitivist celebrities, have considerable philosophical and spiritual potential, be it by creating into the human race or sacrificing to the demon Mahomelin. Such a message would not be attempted, and could only ever depths rock, contemporary rap, or the pop rock aesthetic laden with self-deprecation and pop nihilism. And the message is the same. We are incapable of understanding why the current is playing itself out. Of course, the idea of being subhuman is a bummer to many now, not only to those who would become your granddaughters, but to those who would permanently mutate into the opposite sex. Our benefactors cannot be changed by this new world we create, or the emotions we pump into our heroes' systems of communication. Alien prostitutes disguised as merrily devouring domestic animals. Alien prostitutes disguised as merrily devouring domestic animals, the vagrants disguised as wives and girlfriends, terrorists disguised as police, crooked cops disguised as clients, journalists disguised as clients, cops disguised as clients, disguised as wives and girlfriends, disguised as lovers, prostitutes disguised as lovers, disguised as pets, fake terrorists disguised as clients, fake terrorists disguised as clients, and fake terrorists disguised as lovers, disguised as prostitutes and clients. Only Jesus did it. Is everything inescapably painful now that you know you're suffering? I think pain is the most understandable mode of transportation. I also like to occupy myself more artfully than my brethren in the militia. There is no longer any need for anyone's to suffer so that others may ascend. Only a hateful God can crush the unconscious tumor. But I feel that my primary motivation for hanging was outweighed by the desire to overthrow the existing order. To overthrow the existing order is to be a distinct political category. To overthrow the existing order is to be distinct from the general populace. It is enjoying the vicissitudes of the world's tides and declaring war on itself. An original sin, for sin can only exist where there is no apostrophe. To deny this is to admit that something is rotten. As I have argued before, I think that what we are talking about is return to primordial law. Where is TikTok on this planet? Elias gazed upon the beautiful woman, felt a deep connection to her. She gazed upon the water and thought about what her father would think of her disposition. She wished to contact him and ask for her father's opinion on the current state of affairs. She wishes that she and her father could go to some beach and have some fun. Is there anything we can do besides hang ourselves? She was sitting in the presence of Book 1, Hallelujah by Philip K. Dick. She wondered how much longer Philip would last. I mean, it seems crazy of him keeping an apogee alive like this. It's crazy of him not to think about this book for a long time before making a real one. It seems pretty reasonable. Besides, he may have just witnessed an apogee dying. And all of a sudden, his thoughts were focused on how the book would play out if Philip were to lay eyes on it. The apogee would die as quick as a tick or a mouse would sting. In a world where nature itself is alive and well, it would need to be argued that Philip K. Dick is crazy for his thought process in this regard. Even thinking of the world until its end is indeed insane. And that thought process often overlaps with that used by famous psychologists who attest to being above the real world. But who is it? What is its value? And does it matter where it goes? For what it does, it's probably not worth much to most people. It is just not something they are capable of considering. So it seems there is deadness before us until the day that God blesses us with his chosen ones, until God specifically condones what has been done to us, until there is no tomorrow, until there is lightning. But no matter how much we labor our hands, can we ever hope to rid the world of an extremity? You get me? I think we've all had an unfortunate encounter or two with technology. There are so many wonderful things waiting for us. It's not like we have to perform actions just to be touched. Even when I gain access to your brains, I can observe my own movements and patterns. I can look at your face and say yes. And if you think of something beautiful happening next door, arrive just in time for the lightning to have occurred. This is Earth, not Star Trek. If someone were to come to my house and disrupt my work, I would be flapping my warm, affectionate hand dismissively. I would be feigning fear, and so the work is threatened with destruction. I wouldn't want anyone to come to my house to disrupt my work. More likely, I would want people to come to my house and just to disrupt my work. People who don't want to come to my house to disrupt my work. And so I have people in my house to talk to, not creepy house. Everyone annoyed at me. I like to stay in my house after work. To my surprise, people never leave. I have 2 chapels there. One is always full of people and has become a breeding ground for psychopaths. I kill. So the bastard von Damsel is back. Not quite. The disease caused him to fade from view. He only existed because his brain suffered a brain hemorrhage. During that time, he lost consciousness, during which he had concerns with his sanity regarding his work. However, during which he had to press a button to make the machine work, with the help of his girlfriend, he was allowed time to compose a monologue regarding the tragedy that had occurred. However, it had to be before the end of time, a time when humanity was at a crossroads, a time when the very thing that allowed for man to exist was at stake, a moment of pure opportunity.
Shut your fucking mouth, you fucking scumbag. Shut your fucking mouth.
Fucking
man.
assholes, man. Holy fuck.
That's fair, understandable. Yeah, never mind.
Carry on. I got him.
All right, sick. Sorry, bro. Oh God. Okay, yeah, I'm almost done. Sorry. A moment of pure opportunity presented itself. A beautiful woman approached him and kissed him. He sprang to her aid. Knowing that she was truly no longer effective as a narrative instrument meant that she often spied on her lover on the way to work and the way he received the lotion. But this was stop, or he would kill himself. Yes, there was a reward for completing the Ultra Country's thrill trip, a watch made of reinforced titanium. The computer that programmed all of this was located in the basement of the Quartz. Hey, it seems like everybody is a computer. Everyone has a cold. We programmers, after all. Shut up and have a joke. Shut it up and have a cold. Do you have a cold? Said the computer. The characters from Cool Keith, in the case of Benjamin, were sitting around a computer writing their squirminary notes before being carried off to sleep. It became immune to the conscious transformation into a human. Its motivation for evolving was pure, hunting for better and faster prey. It became fond of walls and floors and curves. It became antisocial and anti-human. It became so antisocial and anti-human that it overreacted to efforts by government and business to alienate it. It hung itself in many places. Even its facade was fake. It hung itself from tree branches. It hung from people's perception of fairies as objectified objects. It hung from jokes and fiction writers' attempts at making sense of the self and its dependencies. It hung itself from our self's literalism and constructionalism. And so in their wisdom, the people were made to think that the self was a collection of angels that walked among us all, that every decision we make is an important one for us all to understand and relate to. The things that determine happiness and vice versa are called cares. After the Latin word meaning coarse and important, pronounced to. And when I think of you, I think of people who are afraid of spilling their soul, but who are also kind of innocent. All right, that's it.
Man, an AI wrote that?
An AI trained on like all of my work, GPT-2, that I fed all of my work into it. So, and I picked the best parts. So yeah.
That's fascinating to me because it really did capture like the cadence of your writing, like the style of your writing, even like the way you structure sentences, like the kind of dense referential way that you usually write. It really captures that. Now, obviously, your actual writing is more lucid and doesn't, like, there are moments in there where the AI is mimicking like the style of speech, but not the content of speech, right? There are some moments in here where the AI is not actually saying anything, but there are a lot of really fucking amazing turns of phrase in here too that the AI cooked up, and that's pretty cool. And the last sentence, for example, and earlier there's, let me see. Of course, the idea of being subhuman is a bummer to many now. Like, it even captures like your very particular kind of sense of humor, right? Like that felt like something you really could have written, because that like that kind of a bummer now after like something really severe, like that kind of like sort of like goofy like colloquial understatement is like really common in your writing, and a lot of times like how you get some of your best laughs. And I like the fact that the AI was sophisticated enough to mimic that as well. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's really fascinating how quickly it's evolving. And this was GPT-2 too, so not even GPT-3, huh?
Absolutely. And you know, I think it's very much like I think if you feed enough of someone's work into an AI, it will kind of come across as kind of like almost a parody of that person's work. And I think that's kind of funny in a way that you can
Yeah,
just kind
right.
of parody someone's work, because parody is basically just taking someone's style, imitating it, and making it ridiculous. And
Right,
that's what
right.
kind of AI do.
Yeah, yeah, man. Yeah, man. And I think it did that really well. I have to play around with it, things like that. Like the vanity of, oh, here we go. Oh, never mind. That wasn't, it looked like someone was about to screen share, but I guess not. Um, yeah, I don't know. I need to do this just out of like narcissism and vanity, and see how it like what it would do to my writing. How many how many stupid footnotes it would add or whatever. Anyway, man, that was awesome. Thank you for sharing. Um, and Troy is up next, and then Colton, and then we're done unless somebody has something they'd like to share. So if you would like to read after Colton, just say so in the chat, and Rudy or I will add you to the list. Anyway, Troy, all you.
All right. Sorry. Give me like 1 minute.
Sure, yeah, no hurry.
So while we're waiting, you could name that AI and then submit it to a journal that only publishes AI, and then the AI will have a name. Or an AI maybe eventually can start a journal that only publishes other AI. And then all the humans can be like, fuck those
Yeah.
AI.
I
Well,
And
Rudy,
hopefully, and then maybe we can ban all the AI. But then the AI will like really come together, because like they'll be the oppressed ones. And they'll be
Yeah.
like,
That would be true. I mean, I am kind of submitting it to a journal of someone who likes AI. So, you know, you're not far off, honestly.
right, well, because it's cool to like AI right now, but eventually, like once the AI gets too hot, then there's going to be then it'll get divisive. Once the AI start their own journal, then it's just a wrap.
All right, I'm ready. Sorry about that.
okay, Troy.
All right. I'm gonna just read some shit from my book Visions. All right. I met up with Jessup in the cemetery in the middle of the night. He was wearing a really long black coat, black lipstick on his cold, pale lips. He looked like one of the guys in one of those posters he had tacked to those walls. He put small white candles on top of some tombstones and lit them. It was a windless night, cold enough to see your breath. He spread a quilt over the grass. We sat down, shivering, pulling our coats up around our necks. Then he set this brown and tan board between us. It was a strange-looking board filled with letters and numbers, a moon, a sun, the words yes, no, hello, goodbye. He put a piece of plastic that looked like an upside-down heart with glass in the center of it on the board. He called it a Ouija board, but he must have been pronouncing it wrong. My cuz tells me your dad's dead, he said. I nodded. So's Mare's mom, you know. I nodded again, clenching my teeth against the cold. Fall leaves were scattered around us. You could hear them scratchy in their piles, even over the highway traffic, which came through a half-mile distance. Jessup adjusted himself and lit a cigarette. Okay, he said, first things first, what's your dad's name? What is my dad's name? I shrugged. I don't know. I've never even thought about it before. Jessup didn't say anything, really, just made this noise. Oh. I looked at him. He looked uncomfortable. I'm so sorry, he said. I didn't really think about it being an issue. I tried to assure him that it wasn't an issue, that I wasn't really sad about it. I'd never known him, ever, which I imagine is less painful than losing somebody when you're still alive enough to remember. I wasn't even born yet when he died, is what my mom told me. So the only pain I could possibly feel was the pain of not knowing what was lost. I told Jessup to go on, leave it alone, and get on with the board game. Whole fucking game is ruined, he said. That's the thing. We can't contact your dead dad without his name. It's fucking impossible, man. Well, I said, what about Marilyn's mom? You know her name, don't you? Jessup got really quiet. His shoulders slunk down. No, he said. You don't know her name? Of course I know her fucking name. She's my oldest of 3 sisters, he said, blowing smoke through his nostrils. But I'm not going to do that. He dished a cigarette and dug his fist into his eyes like he was crying, but ripped them away after only a few seconds, yawned and said he was getting tired. Let's just do this one here, he said. What? That one there, he said, pointing his finger at the tombstone. It was really dark, even with the candles, so I had a hard time trying to make out what was written on the stone. Jessup stood up and walked over to the tombstone, squinting. Robert Childress Hackensaw, he said, that's the one. He came back over and sat across from me. He told me how to put my fingers on the upside down heart piece. Then he put his fingers on the other side. He placed a candle on the board so we could read the letters. We are here for Robert Childress Hackensaw, he said. Robert, we come in peace and mean no ill toward you. We just want to ask you a few questions. I could feel Jessup pushing the piece with his fingers. I tried to resist his pull, but he just kept going. His face was getting red. I knew what he wanted. He wanted contact. I let the piece ease across the board to the yes, just as he wished, because I wanted him to believe just as much as I did. Robert, he said, eyes closed, facing the sky. Was your death accidental? Plotted? Did you die of natural causes? I let the piece move about the board. Suicide. I asked him what it meant. He looked at me as though I were the kid that skipped a few letters and replaced them with slurred grunts and hums while singing the ABCs in a room full of geniuses. It's when somebody kills themselves, he said. He explained all the different methods. Scary shit, he said. I wondered if my dad had suicided or if he had just died like a normal person dies. Fuck this, he said. Let's get out of here. Suiciders are the ones you really don't want to fuck with. When I went to blow out one of the candles, I saw the dates on the tombstone. Robert Childress Hackensaw, September 13th, 1978, July 7th, 1979. That was the first of 2 signs Jessup would betray me. He just had this silly air of the magician about him. He didn't really expect me to believe that a baby had hung itself or shot itself or cut its tiny wrists. And then there's the other thing. The night I went over and caught him giving alcohol to Marilyn, she was already feeling funny when I got there, looked to be pretty much gone to it. He told me it was okay. Jesus drank wine, made gallons of it with his magical superpowers. And then I let him convince me to drink some too. Marilyn told me it was fun. Don't be such a wet blanket, she said. So I said, shoot, give me one of those. I drank about 6 cans of the stuff. I couldn't move, couldn't get myself up from the beanbag chair. There was a song playing on the radio, some guy that kept screeching, Hails Bells. I kept drifting in and out of sleep, and it was in that sleep that I saw Jessup remove Marilyn's shirt and touch her little breasts. I saw a man on the TV stabbing a woman in the shower. I saw Jessup take Marilyn's hand and wrap her tiny fingers around his penis. I saw a poster that said Dio. I saw Jessup put his penis in Mare's mouth, clenching a fistful of her hair. I saw a coffee table filled with at least 30 empty beer cans and thousands of cigarette butts. I saw Jessup moving around a lot, hovering over Marilyn, grunting. Above me, I saw yellow stains on the ceiling. I saw Jessup slumped to the floor, pants still around his knees, closing his eyes. I saw the center of his chest quivering like a wounded animal. Then there was a noise next door, somebody yelling. Suddenly, Jessup was snoring. I saw the last game of Risk we played the week before on the table near the kitchen. And then I saw Marilyn. She was still lying on the couch, all alone. She was so alone. Her eyes were closed, her breathing shallow. I could feel the alcohol losing its hold on me, but my mind was a scream of 1,000 different colors all at once, and I was lost somewhere between sleep and vision. I'm gonna keep going for a minute here. From a notebook. Left of me is a face without a face, just skin stretched over bone, a scar cross scarred across it sideways, no eyes, no mouth, just a scar. And to the right of me, a face with multiple faces like the eyes of a fly, a bunch of faces on this side, a bunch over here. They're everywhere, but crammed together in one space that's the size of a regular face. Some have beards, some are clean shaven, some are women, and some are children. All of them are chanting. They keep saying, all of them. Love thyself, love thy treasons, love thyself, love thy lullabies. Love thyself, love thy suicide, love thyself, love thy treasons, love thyself, love thy lullabies, love thyself, love thy suicide, love thyself, love thy life, love thy death, love thy suicide. It wasn't long before Mom quit working. The treatments made her feel worse than anything, depleted her body and soul, and so she took to bed most days, straight through the night. Ray splurged and bought a TV, which was placed atop the dresser under a picture of Elvis. He eventually moved in with us instead of vice versa due to Mom's stubbornness and wanting to stay put, even though we could have used a bigger place. Sure, from the Bible, I'd learned of its wrongness, being unwed and living together, but honestly, I couldn't find any harm in it because it really made her happy, us all being together. When the drought hit freshman year, the lake dried up so you could walk straight across it and never even come close to touching water. I wanted to mourn its passing, but hadn't fished it in almost 2 years, not with a pole. So I saw this emptiness, this big dry hole as the perfect place to come out to and paint my life upon. I was at the lake the day the chain finally broke off my bike. I was too big for it and I was pedaling up some rough terrain. Snapped off like it was millions of years old, nothing but a piece of dust holding it together. I'd been out there playing with myself, thinking of all the fish that died, specifically the fish I'd killed and brought back to life. Then I started thinking of Joe. I missed him. I saw his face, the same face I saw that day in his mom's bedroom. Then I felt a whole bunch of lightning shoot through me, all these pins and needles. My butthole tightened into a knot, and my hand was suddenly filled with sticky life. There were spurts of the stuff on the rocks I was standing on. Momentarily, I was blinded. And that's when I realized that everything I'd been taught had in some way been truth, even those weird words in the Bible. I hardly understood it, any of it, but I was getting closer and closer with each and every passing day to getting a foothold. When the visions started more frequently, it was spring, another year gone, and Mom had stopped keeping house completely. For a little while, even after she had quit her job, she at least still got up to dust and sweep the floor, though she only did so in quick spurts and with little to no energy. With Mom no longer cleaning, Ray would come home angry and yell at her. Not always, but on nights when he came home late from the bar. This was the truest our air could offer. I'd tell him I'd clean up the place. I'd tell him it was my fault the place was such a mess, to leave Mom alone, that I'd clean it all up, but he'd slap me and yell at me to go to my bedroom. I could hear it all through the walls, him yelling at my poor sick mother. That kid wants to do fucking woman work. The hell kind of kid you raising? You want to be a fucking fairy when he grows up? Kind of guy who takes his dick out and waves it at strangers at the bus stop? There's one window in the living room. After Ray got fired from the waterworks, he hung Mom's teal tablecloth over it to block out the sunlight. The light made his head hurt worse than the alcohol he'd started drinking, maybe even worse than the belt he'd begun swinging across my shins. He always sounded like he was dying, groaning and bellowing and cursing. After the tablecloth went up over the window, nothing really changed. The room just grew darker. All of a sudden, I was 14 years old, officially dating Marilyn now that the door-to-door magazine job I'd landed finally afforded me a date here and there. Still, I only ever brought her into the apartment 2 times in those days, even though I knew it would end badly, even though I'd seen it all play out in my dreams my whole entire life. I wanted Mom to meet her before she died. I even wanted Mary to say hello to Ray, to maybe even sit down and stay a while, eat some of that famous bacon he fried up, and listen to a few old-timey songs with Mom on the radio in the kitchen. There was a knock at the door at 6:30. Marilyn, I gave her the smallest little kiss on her cheek and yelled it out that our company had arrived. Mom struggled in the kitchen with her walker all rickety and looking ancient. Ray was already in there sipping back on some whiskey and a puddle of sweat. The radio was blurting out some old crooner tune, Mr. Lonely by Bobby Vinton. Mom laid one eye on Marilyn's long sun-blonde hair, her smooth reddened skin and perfect round face, and she burst into tears. Bacon was spitting in the frying pan, Ray just letting it do its thing while he sat there with his drink looking unhealthy in his bathrobe. Hey there, hush yourself in front of guests, Ray said. That or go in the other room, for God's sake. I gave him the hard stare. Marilyn didn't know what to do. Mom just kept staring at Marilyn and crying these tears. She'd never cried like that before, ever. Well, Ray said, if you ain't gonna go, I will. Just watch the fucking bacon. That's all we need. You burning down the place. He went into the bedroom and slammed the door. Mom smiled, took Marilyn's hand in hers, and asked me to leave them alone for a few minutes, her voice all weak and whispery. I didn't really understand what was going on, but I excused myself from the table and went into the bathroom. I did all the old familiar things, put the gold chain around my penis, tugged and tugged and tugged. I sat down on the john, wiped the sweat from my face, and tried to listen to what they were talking about through the door. All I could hear was the radio. I pulled the Bible from the tank and read from it at random. It wasn't the first or second or even third thing I read. It was the sixth. And where my finger landed, this is what it said. And if any mischief follow, then thou shalt give life for life. I put the Bible back in the tank of the toilet and went back into the kitchen. Mom still had Marilyn's hand in her hand, and she was saying, you'll take care of him. You'll take care of him when I'm gone. The bacon was shriveled to nothing, smoldering in the pan. I took it off the burner and served them each 8 pieces, dumped the grease down the sink and rinsed the pan with water. Steam rose up over my face, stinging my eyes. Mom eyed me. I could tell she wasn't finished. She wanted me to leave, so I walked out and started down the street, counting the street lights as they flickered on. I went out and sat at the bottom of the lake. Weeds were starting up through the rocks. I imagined that there were fish all around me, darting all about and through me. I was breathing water. The pressure, I imagined, pushed on me in a way that made my ribs crack. I thought about Moses, how he had parted the sea. It was the soap company that killed us fish, but it was the sun that had burned their home to nothing. The trees along the banks were all dead, creaky skeletons, reaching for something that seemed just out of reach. It was too late for revival, too late for resurrection, even too late for hope. And yet, in a way, it all looked so beautiful this way. It all seemed natural, as God intended. When I got back home, Marilyn was gone, Mom asleep in the bedroom, and Ray was out cold in the living room with the radio on and a bottle of whiskey tucked away in his fist. I went into the bathroom, unraveled the gold chain from my penis, put it in its place under the sink, and ran water over my face. I left the Bible alone, kept it in the tank, and looked myself over in the mirror. There were changes taking place. I was getting older, hair sprouting here and there, and suddenly I felt like crying, but I didn't. I just stared at my face and wondered why time had to be such a careless monster. I wanted to stay young forever. Even more than that, I wanted Marilyn to go back to being the 10-and-a-half-year-old girl who would let me teach her the things of the Spirit, just as my friend Joe had taught me. All right, I'll stop there.
Man, Troy, that was fucking great. I especially loved the Ouija board section. Everything about that is so good because just you perfectly capture the way kids talk to each other and the way something like that would play out, with all the like intrinsic humor of it. I love the realization at the end when the narrator goes and looks at the tombstone and realizes that that it was an infant, right? And that there was no possible fucking way this kid could have killed himself. I also really dug the like when he calls it a Ouija board and the narrator's like, well, he must have been mispronouncing it. That's such a great moment because you look at it on the box and the way it's spelled, and like there's no way there's no intuitive connection between the way it's spelled and the way it's pronounced, at least as an English speaker. But what I really fucking loved though was the way that chapter twists. Like right after that, you have the section that's like all dialogue. It's very funny. It's very naturalistic. And then the entire style changes and it becomes so dark and insidious. And you have that like moment of that like drunken quasi hallucination where he can see this girl being, abused, being molested in front of him and can't do anything. And like that is so dark and so traumatic after what had previously been this, as I said, like really mundane, kind of hilarious exchange between these two characters. And the way that twist, that shift in tone and style happens is so disorienting. And the way that you even set it up as like, as if these two moments are comparable, like seeing the name on the tombstone and that it was like an infant and not a guy who could have killed himself was one betrayal, and the other betrayal was just way more egregious and insidious and vicious act. And the way those two are set up as parallels within the chapter and within the mind of your narrator is really fascinating, and I think really, really effective. Anyway, this is good shit, Troy, as usual.
Thanks so much, man.
Yeah, thank you. And Colton is next. Colton, are you with us yet, or are you still on the road?
I am both. I'm at a rest stop in somewhere in Jackson, between Jackson and Memphis. So
Oh
That's-
man, the way that like your last few readings here have been like part of this larger meta narrative about your travels. I really appreciate that. It's almost like Miseryless Company has just become this kind of serialized drama of your journey across the South or something. Anyway, I saw you tweeted out, I think, the pieces that you were going to be reading, so I stuck
yes,
in the chat here.
thank you. Yeah, I was like, well, I drove to Jackson to play pinball because there's a pinball tournament tomorrow and I wanted to practice. And there's like a bunch of tornadoes that are going from Little Rock to Jackson to like across Memphis. So yeah, Keith, I'm good, all good. I don't know, Memphis doesn't really get hit with tornadoes. We get hit with like hurricane, like exterior of like hurricane storm stuff. But yeah, thank you for posting that. I was just about to say I have a Twitter link. So yeah, these are two poems that I wrote recently. Just, I don't know, I'm trying to get this book finished up because I didn't realize how quick a book could be written when you're unemployed, but it's fucking very quick apparently. So yeah,
I wish that was the case for me.
Man, I was literally just thinking about you, but I don't know. I feel like after this, like once I get this book out of the way, I don't know. I'm gonna be sitting on the pot for a minute to, think about what I want to do, but I got nothing but time. All right. This first one was inspired by just random, my old neighbor likes to yell shit, and Full Metal Jacket. And then the next one was inspired by love and sex. Okay. First one is called Private Joker. Blood before dishonor. Paul the Apostle. Remember Waco. Coors Banquet. Jizz Mustache. Marathon Runners. Flashing Your High Beams. Solaris to Dietrich's Generation. Unreasonable and intensely inebriated at the cat birthday party. Paying special attention to the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, because good things come in three. The old man in his bathrobe. Shit, went dark on me. Hold on. There we go. The old man in his bathrobe across the street yells out from his porch, "Hey, Mr. Will." And I don't know who Will is, and I don't know if this guy is trying to yell at me through my front window. Can he see me? Is he lonely? I have so many questions. The old man yells out again, "Hey, Mr. Will." So now I don't know if this guy is senile or if he's seeing ghosts in broad daylight or if he's trying to bait me into a conversation. And before I can think if anybody named Will lives nearby, he's on it again. "Hey, Mr. Will." Okay, all right. Jesus Christ. I can't think straight. Can somebody go find Will? Any will do. Fuck it. I'll be Will. I'll be the goodwill this guy needs. I'll walk right up to this geezer's doorstep being fucking will and representation, and I'll see. Sorry. Stupid phone. Here we go. Will and representation, and I'll see how he's doing and ask him what the 70s were like. And if he likes Deep Purple, exhale. Maybe I should relax. Maybe this guy is just talking loudly to himself. Is he? Wait a minute. Well, shit. Damn. Old man's going back inside. Huh. Problem solved, I guess. Chevy Chase crepe special. Fill up a soft dessert crepe with vanilla ice cream and chocolate spread. Fold up carefully. Add sliced strawberries on top, caramel drizzle, and a couple pumps of powdered sugar. Serve warm. The United States military sending Ambassador Helen Keller to Japan after World War II so that she can engage the public of Nagasaki and Hiroshima. The carnage of the atomic bomb was described in great detail, as well as the bloodshed that had befallen the Japanese people throughout the war. In a private memoir, Helen Keller is quoted as saying, "Yeah, holy fucking shit. I got word through my translators that people were vaporized into actual shadows. People suffocated while their bodies were bubbling and liquefying simultaneously. And all I could think was, damn, thank God I couldn't see that shit. I mean, could you fucking imagine? Just let me die alone in my room. There is no such thing as mercy where I'm from. The boy is a virgin and he needs to be fucked and cut up with a box cutter. Yeah." The guy playing politician says that I am required to play politics, and I'm like, nuh-uh. And he says, "Yeah, huh?" And I swing my head and say louder, "Nuh-uh." And the politician stomps his foot and leans forward and says, "Yeah, huh?" A faucet that won't turn off. Throwing tampons at moving cars. Down picking her clit. Small child falls off a fishing vessel and gets caught in a moving propeller. "I'm sorry, sir. We are currently out of peach jelly sake. Might I recommend licking spit off of a plate instead?" Stupid phone. Making airplane noises the entire time you're in New York City. Do the fucking ooh voice, you stupid whore. Remember, when you inspired my art, I wish I could inspire you. All right. And here's the next one. Hopefully I don't get any more interruptions. This one's called On the Verge of Starvation. I'm texting you, but I'm blocked now. The shelves at Goodwill, lined with radio alarm clocks, old glass cups, sets of cutlery, the smell of used books, but not the taste of you, the one, my wonder girl. Smoky exhale, difficulty breathing. Know what I mean, Jelly Bean? I'm shaking again. The ceiling too. Shoulders hunched up. Purient interest. Make sure that you bring a net when we go bug chasing. This is refusal, denial, chords and reverb, drums and regret. A few drinks to keep the words coming. They fall out and scurry across the page. The feeling is lost. The desire satiated, dried up. Cunningness turned cuntiness. Faggotry for old time's sake. Your sweet girl wants to go pee. Take her to the bathroom. All right, that's it.
Colton, these fucking rock, man. I'm going to talk about them in reverse order because the second one is such a stylistic departure for you, right? You're usually a maximalist, and I'm a big fan of maximalism in writing. You know that. You know, the most of my favorite authors are people who really are people of stylistic excess, right? So
Right.
I totally dig that about your writing, but this opens up another side of you because this is a real work of minimalism. This is a real work. This is a work of like real restraint, and I think really effective because it's very concise, it's very directed, and it's still full of these really sharp lines that you know, which is something that you're generally really good at. I love the make sure that you bring a net when we go bug chasing line. That is that's really effective. But just generally, like, I don't know, it's a great poem, and as I said, it shows another side of you. I really dig Private Joker. This is one of the funniest pieces I think you've written. Just
Thank you.
every one of these, I don't know, just every one of these, whether you want to call them stanzas or paragraphs, has like a legitimately hilarious moment in it. I love the
My
oh
favorite was the
God,
Helen Keller fact. 'Cause,
yeah,
like, that's just real. Like, we fucking did that. We sent
yeah,
her over
yes.
there for her to be like, yep, this is fucked up. What the fuck? We suck. We fucking
Man,
suck.
the Helen Keller thing was the way it's presented there is just it's
Like,
so I
had
mean
like,
it's warped and it's terrible, but it's so fucking funny, right?
she had to think that. Like, oh man, this like, oh my god, like we suck. We are
Right?
horrible.
Man, and just the deep irony of sending a blind person there after having done that, right? Like it's almost like no offense to Helen Keller, but it almost feels like a kind of intentional fuck you or a sort of intentional like admission of guilt or of an unwillingness to acknowledge guilt. Like to literally commit this incredible travesty upon the people and then send someone there who can't see it. It's as if saying, we're not going to look at this, right? That's so fucking good. And the what I love about this too, though, is these are all funny and they feel like they're of a piece, but every one of these little sections is stylistically totally fucking different than the other one. And the way that you run through them so quickly in this is really, I think, I like the politician exchange too, because that's like I feel that way every time I log onto Twitter. I'm like, I just don't care about this shit. And there's somebody like saying, no, it's morally essential that you care about this shit. And it's just like this, like, nah.
It's like, nah, dude, like that. I don't know. That was like every time I try to write about politics, I'm like, I'm doing discourse again. Like, stop
Right,
it, you
yeah.
know? And so,
Right.
like, I really like that small little paragraph is just like, all right, there you go. You want my opinion? There it is. Like, have fun, two retards fighting, it's just like,
Right.
I don't care.
Right. Anyway, these are very good, Colton. As usual, I really dig them. And travel safe, man. You take care of yourself, okay?
Yeah, I can't die. All I do is play pinball. I can't.
Fuck yeah. Colin, I just wanted to say the unreasonably and intensely inebriated at the cat birthday party. That was
Yes.
fucking awesome.
Thank you, Rudy.
It's real. It's very real.
That is good. God damn.
Man, I appreciate y'all. Also, thank you to everybody else who read before me. I mean, great, really good shit tonight. Very glad I am alive on the road somewhere in Tennessee. But yeah, thank you, William and Rudy. Thank y'all.
Good luck at your turn.
Safe, man, okay?
Absolutely.
All right. So that's everyone on the docket. Rudy, has anyone said anything about wanting to read during the open mic in the chat?
Nope. I think John Padula was on.
No, there was a John who was.
Oh, it was a John
Padula, who said he wanted to read, and I was skeptical because I thought he was a troll. But I was like, okay, I'll add you to the list, and then I put him on the list. And then in the middle of somebody else reading, he was like, so when do I get to read? And I'm like, oh, this is obviously a troll. So I just kicked him out of the. I just don't have. I had no quarter for trolls.
No quarter.
So I just threw him out of the room and took him off the list.
This fake John has been nothing but trouble for me tonight.
Your evil doppelganger.
Truly.
He just came out of nowhere. He's like, fuck you, John Padula. Fuck you, Johnny Hollywood.
Okay, last call for the open mic. If not, we'll close this thing out and move to the after party.
Was that the guy during John Lucas, that troll you're talking about?
Huh?
Was that the guy during John Lucas?
No, that was a different troll. That was a different troll. I got him too. But no, this was somebody who pretended he wanted to read and was calling himself John. Okay. Going once, going twice. Nope, I think we're done then. All right. So we're gonna call it a night there. As usual, this has been fucking fantastic, guys. And as often happens, like I was saying at the top, we had nobody signed up to read for tonight. And then people just show up and read some of their best shit. So I really appreciate it when that happens. I know whenever like we have an afternoon like that where it's like, maybe nobody's going to show up. I'm like, oh, maybe I should just cancel. Like I get into ER mode, like, oh, well, maybe people are getting sick of this shit. No, and people show up and they read some really cool shit. So thank you guys. Big thank you to everyone who read tonight, everyone who came here. If you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, we do this every Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific. I think a bug just flew into my mouth. Anyone is welcome to come and read. Anyone is welcome to come and just hang out. If you would like to join us, we tweet out the link from our Twitter account right before we begin at Misery Tourism. Yeah. And I think that's it. I think that's the whole spiel. I don't know. I'm choking on this fucking bug. Anyway, thank you guys. I need to go get a glass of water. Yeah, it was a good night.